Reflecting an image of a bygone age, Mick Walters' Garrett steam lorry stands resplendent alongside the works of Israel Newton and Sons, boilermakers and engineers of Idle near Bradford. The nearby sounds of a football game are soon to be joined by the sound of steam engines gathered together for a steam party celebrating the company's 200th year in engineering. Owner of the factory, Gordon Newton, and his wife Linda welcome the early arriving guests as Derek Rayner steers his Aveling roller away from the low loader parking area. The party will bring together both clients, friends and relatives, all with some connection to this old established family business. I asked Gordon Newton what brought about the idea of a steam party.
Well, I thought about it about 2001. But what could we do to celebrate 200 years of a company? Because there won't be many companies who actually can have achieved that goal, as it were. So I got talking to one or two people, and I thought, well, I'll have a word with Derek Rayner, where he thinks about getting some engines over here, and having a steam theme. And so it evolved from there. We had to pick a date so it wouldn't interfere with people who are going on rallies and one thing and another. Hence the date, September 21st, Sunday. And so we got together and organised various people to kindly volunteer to bring their engines across. Two of them we have repaired, which is David Mitchell's Tiger tractor, and the other one was Derek Rayner's. Derek Rayner must have been one of our first clients on repairing of locomotive type boilers, or traction engines, I should say.
This Fowler 10-ton roller, works number 15981, was brought along by its current owner, Les Don. It made an interesting comparison with the Aveling roller, and at the same time complemented David Mitchell's Fowler Tiger tractor, seen here in the background. Very soon, the number of invited guests had swelled, and there was much talk of all things steam-driven. Inside the works were arranged a variety of boilers, some ready for dispatch and others still to be completed. The visitors were at liberty to casually wander amongst the display and examine the exhibits at close quarters. Each one was clearly marked for identification. These boilers are for Ravenglass and Eskdale railway locomotives, and Gordon explained how he came to make the two together.
Yeah, Ravenglass approached me a year or so ago, and one of the boilers, fun enough, we made in 1977, the first one we made, was getting to the end of its life. That was the River Urt. So they decided to have that one made, and also Northern Rock they could see in a couple of years' time that would need a new boiler. So consequently got together and got a package together, although there's a slight difference in them, to manufacture two boilers at the same time. The USA tank engine, that is a long-term job based on fundraising by Kent and East Sussex Railway, and that's quite a big project. This one particularly, I think, was made in Pennsylvania in America during the war and brought over here. The Garrett steamroller of John Millington's came in early 2003, and of course, as most people know, a Garrett roller had a corrugated box, so I had to find somebody who had the tooling to do all this. And I approached Steve England, who took over the business after the unfortunate death of Stuart Woodbine in Chesterfield area, and he had all the tooling to manufacture this, and he did a very good job of it.
It's not a new one, it's the original shell.
One of the boilers on display was to be the subject of a later visit I made to see work in progress.
Regarding the steam rail motor, that's an ongoing project at the moment. It's long term, and that is one of my pride and joy at the moment, is manufacturing that, because there isn't one you can go and have a look at and copy, because they're all scrapped. And they decided to have a copper firebox in, because the original was designed that way. So we're trying to make more or less everything as per original. The tube plate was 3/4 of an inch thick, and that was supplied as a blank circle. The barrel or shell of the firebox was 9/16 thick, and so the flanging of the end plate or tube plate was done over a former, and we had to progress flange it with a mallet and keep periodically heating it up to release stresses and just to soften it again or anneal it. The whole job then was put together and bolted up very tightly, because what would happen, that if you didn't bolt it and keep the plates close, that when you've been hand riveting, as a contraction rivet evolves and it closes space up to the gap, you would find that after you put some further rivets in, that the first rivet then would be slack, so you'd have to take it out.
Yeah.
Regarding why didn't we machine rivet it, well, what would happen with the pressure of our hydraulic press, which is about 50 tonne, it would just, copper being a soft metal, it would just squash, so you had to hand rivet. Even you do get indentation with the contraction of the rivet by hand, it's still the only way to do, rivet up a copper firebox.
took the opportunity to look at two other processes in boiler production, beginning with plate cutting, followed by hole drilling.
Mild steel plates, in most cases we use what they call a profile machine, which is a portable machine, which either you can run on a track to cut the plate, or you can cut circles by using what we call a radius arm, and you can cut up to 2.5 inches thick on this. We do our own drilling. Anything bigger than 3 inches has got to be bore-light for superheater flues, for locomotive boilers. I go to my friend in Bradford who will bore them out to whatever we require.
Back to the day of the steam party, and by contrast the works were very tranquil. On display were many photographs and sales brochures from the past. I invited Gordon to explain something of the history of the company.
Well, we've ascertained that the company, which was formed in 1803, was formed by a relative, of course, called John Newton. As regarding his occupation, all we've got down is an engineer. From then on he had a son called Israel, who was a boilermaker, according to records. And they had premises at Farnley, behind the Woolcock Inn. As regarding his products, I really don't know what he actually did, but I'm sure eventually the development of boilers and steam equipment, he got involved with that. At the end of the 19th century, he must have felt that his present premises at Farnley were inadequate, and he was offered some premises in Idle, or discovered some premises in Idle, which is a fair way from Farnley. And the whole family moved then to Idle. Now the premises were situated on Greenfield Lane. Then in 1905 he decided he needed to expand again, and consequently moved to our present premises on Idle Moor. This factory became available, and my great-grandfather bought it in 1905. And so they continued developing industrial boilers and equipment, steam equipment allied to butchers and one thing and another. In the mid-1920s, my great-grandfather developed a dry rendering machine. A dry rendering machine was basically a horizontal vessel with a steam jacket and some paddle blades, and this came about from what they call the packing house industries, which are developed in Chicago in the USA. And the idea was that no slaughtered animal, after the meats and what have you are taken off, any of the waste product would go to waste. So these machines were developed for cooking bones or soft tissues in a vessel and taking out then the fat and tallow. Other products that come to mind are vertical cross tube boilers. A lot of pig breeders had them for boiling swill. Other ones which really were one-offs, not a standard line, was rotating retorts for producing canned rice pudding and condensed soup. In World War II, essential works requirements were laid down by the government of the time. As like any other, especially engineering industries, the company had to manufacture products for the war effort, and so having a press and a furnace, I understand that we manufactured various sizes of bomb heads, and also an air raid shelter, and somebody told me we used to make steel sentry boxes as well. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
As well as the photographs of boilers and other products, there was a family portrait showing Gordon's father, Fred, as a young boy. I wondered, what were Gordon's earliest recollections of his father's business?
my earliest recollections would be when I was a schoolboy. In the holidays I used to come up here, and on some occasion I used to go with my father when men were working out on site, installing boilers in butchers or Chinese laundries. That brought a memory back, because I remember going early one morning to a Chinese laundry at York, and we're installing a vertical cross tube boiler which was hand fired, and these Chinese people were absolutely wonderful, and we all stopped, and the owners delivered to us bacon, eggs, tomatoes and what have you for breakfast, and that was one thing that stood out in my mind, you know, the hospitality of these people. Oh, when I was 15, in the summer holidays, which I think in those days must have been at least 8 weeks, my father decided that I had to do some drawing, because one of the draftsmen, I think he was either poorly or he was in the national service. So I had to come in this drawing office and do some drawing or tracings, not design work at that time. And I always got into trouble because I was always going into the works and not doing what I was supposed to be doing, is actually tracing. So anyway, eventually I got through my holidays and I was paid a princely sum of £25, which was immediately, on the advice of my father, went into a bank account, not to be touched. Obviously I was destined to be here, so I left school one at lunchtime at 12 o'clock. I went home, had a spot of lunch, and I was working at 1 o'clock the same day. I've never been anywhere since. So that's my earliest recollections of this business. When I was 21, I was working in the works. There would be about 15 men here at the time, and my father, I noticed, was having a bit of an argument with a foreman who'd been here for some time. Anyway, he dismissed him for reasons which I cannot remember now, and he came to me, and bearing in mind I was only 21, and says, "You are now works manager." Well, there were chaps here who've been here a long time, and some of them were twice my age, so very quickly I had to get their respect and learn fast about the whole manufacturing of boilers, whether it be riveted or welded or what have you, and that was quite an installation, want for a better word, when I became works manager.
At the party, Gordon was held in conversation with many of his customers and friends. I was interested to know about the company's products in the post-war period to the present day.
Oh, in 1953 coronation, the Idle and Thackley business people, I think they got together and got a committee together to decide to have an ox roast. So we were asked by this committee to provide the drive gear for rotating the ox. The local gas board provided the gas burners for cooking, and then everybody you can see round, some might be dressed in this picture, were local butchers, and basically that's really what it is. Although my father and I complained we didn't get a bloody sandwich, but anyway, that's in the late 50s. A lot of the mills, textile mills, who used to use Lancashire boilers for running actually a steam engine, for providing power for looms, weaving machines, etc. We're getting to a stage where they were actually beyond repair, and also didn't need large boilers anyway, because the mills had converted to direct electric motors. They needed more efficient boilers because the Lancashire boilers were inefficient anyway. They were most of them coal-fired. Some were converted to oil, but the efficiency didn't increase. So instead of having 4 boilers, because they only need boilers for heating the mill, they got rid of 4 and just wanted 1. So we supply quite a few companies, especially in this area, Bradford and Leeds, with new industrial boilers. So we manufactured the boilers and we actually installed them, erected them, and some were in very deep positions in the building. So we used specialised contractors like Pickford's to help us out with installation, and then we did all the piping in mills for the steam to go through, provided heaters and so on. And one of the great things about that, he actually designed a boiler, manufactured it, installed it, and set it running, as it were, and you got a bit of a thrill out of that, really. Most of them were oil, one or two were coal, but boilers in the Suez crisis, which I think was in 1956, coal then came into being for a long while, which we used mechanical stokers for these boilers. And then when all that sort of petered out and things became more stable in the Middle East, then a lot of people went on to oil. It's better than coal because it was filthy, dust and what have you, especially in a textile mill. It wasn't really helpful to them. And so, and also other companies, and we'd exported to Malta, Portugal and one or two other countries with industrial package boilers. But we could see in the 1980s that demand for package boilers was waning. I don't know whether we were prophetic or what, but we're actually being proven right on that. And consequently, we decided to go into the work we do presently, and that's manufacture and repair of loco type boilers. And the first ones we made were two boilers for the Raven Glasgow Railway in 1977. And from then on, we got an order for one and then two Bear Peacock type boilers for the Isle of Man Steam Railway. Advertising in a magazine called Steaming, which we didn't know much about at the time, did pay dividends, and we gradually got into the traction engine market as well. High profile work, one of the comes to mind really, it's only in recent years, was the manufacture of loco boiler for furnace number 20, which is up at the Lakeside and Aberthwaite Railway. They came to me with a tracing, because there had no original drawings, of showing an all welded boiler, and I said to them, I said, well, you don't want this, it won't last long. I said, we can design and manufacture a riveted boiler, and they're quite surprised at this. So we designed it, it was approved by necessary insurance companies, and it was manufactured. And I think one of the greatest kicks I got out of that was when it was first run on tests between Aberthwaite and Lakeside, the bottom end of Lake Windermere, because we got to a point where there's a wrought iron bridge approaching Lakeside, and this loco has a high chimney. And being a doubting Thomas myself, I said to Tim Owen, who was driving the engine, who was actually the chairman of the Lakeside and Aberthwaite Preservation Trust, it's just to slow down, which he did do, and there was a clearance of about 4 inches on this bridge.
Early afternoon and the party was going well. With refreshments available and pleasant late summer weather, everyone appeared to be enjoying this unique occasion. The ever-present sound of the motion on Les Don's Fowler roller was heard above the background murmur of conversation amongst the guests. Beer and good food, lovely. And the garret became a convenient dining table. While the guests were taking their fill, it seemed only right that David Mitchell should offer the Crimson Rambler a well-earned drink. After all, that morning it had steamed all the way from Poole in Wharfdale.
Everybody leaves houses.
Thirst fully quenched, the Crimson Rambler, a 1920 5-ton Fowler Tiger tractor, is manoeuvred carefully through the crowd of visitors. David's tractor had required extensive boiler work in 1992, and Gordon explains what had to be done.
Well, yes, it came in basically for a new firebox, and when we stripped the firebox out and started having a look at the boiler barrel, we found that was very thin. So a decision was made jointly between the insurance company and David that we would renew the barrel and the smokebox tube plate. So virtually, apart from the back plate and the throat plate and the horn plates, it's virtually a new boiler is that one, and that's my earliest recollections of that one. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. Very nice.
Steersman Graham again skillfully steers the Fowler tractor back down the yard for a photo call at the request of one of the guests.
Well, I think it is, I will be sure. Well, it's gone down for a while. But then it's come down.
Later in the afternoon, long shadows were cast by pleasant September sunshine, adding warmth to this most delightful occasion. David Mitchell repositioned the Tiger tractor in preparation for its departure. Derek Rayner's Aveling roller, the White Rose, was gently moved out, ready to reverse down the yard. The party was beginning to wind down. So now, a final comment from Gordon Newton on the subject of health and safety.
Oh yes, amusing. We were doing some hot pressing. I think it was one Saturday, and many years ago. And procedure is we've got a die set up in our press where we're doing some either a tube plate or addition, what we call addition flange end. So the furnace is opposite the press, and so it's a case of 3 people taking this plate out and putting it in the press. So 2 men, one holding a long bar, and the third person, i.e. myself, was holding a pair of tongs and balancing it on the bar to carry the plate from the furnace to the press. And it was quite a heavy plate. At that time I was wearing polyester type boiler suits, and with the radiation from this heavy plate, my boiler suit caught on fire on the leg. But I couldn't stop. I had to take this into the press. So once we got it set up in the press, then I doused the flames out of the boiler suit, you see. So that's the last time working in an environment like this. You would actually use polyester. You always use 100% cotton boiler suit. So that can be a health and safety point, can that, in this type of work.
The steam party had been a success, and a fitting tribute to 200 years of engineering at Israel Newton & Sons.